Damn, place is kind of a ghost town, innit? You see, I love speedrunning Armored Core 6, and I think it's a really fun game to speedrun, but unfortunately, I am practically the 6th gen community at the moment. You see, while we have been getting new people into the AC speedrunning Discord, and most of the time they seem to be in it for AC6, they'll ask if there are any good resources available to look at to get a better understanding of the run. But unfortunately, there isn't really. You either have to tread through the chat logs or emulate what R5 did, and to a lesser extent, my strategies and builds, to even start. And while we've had new runs submitted, especially on the console side, runners unfortunately don't seem to stick. Obviously not a slide against these runners, but it's unfortunate to see. So today, I aim to fix that. This video is step 2 of my plan to get people into speedrunning this game. First, appear at Oz Speedrun Marathon. 2, start making tutorial content. 3, profit. Now, let's start the analysis. I personally believe that the builds are the biggest factor in a good run. I started having significant time improvement as soon as I started actually optimizing my builds. Gaining the skill and lowering the time came after that. So today, I'm creating a tier list of the AC6 parts based on how well they work in a speedrun. This will be the first of a series. Next video I will be covering the builds used, then the tech used, and then I will cover every mission we run to discuss builds and optional routes. This will be for current patch, so no discussing pre-nerf parts. This series will also serve to provide general tips to beat the game quickly as well, so even those who aren't speedrunning can get some mileage out of this series. Without further ado, let's begin. The tier list will be separated into 5 tiers. First, best in slot. These parts are extremely strong. Even if there are missions where other parts are better, these parts are still an excellent option regardless. Great utility. These parts aren't as generally applicable as best in slot parts, but they still have many missions where they can be used and can achieve things that some best in slot weapons can't. Niche use. These parts have a mission or two where they can be used, but are usually outclassed but have a certain utility that other parts cannot replicate and perfectly suit the mission. Good but outclassed. These parts aren't bad, but are usually completely outclassed by previously mentioned parts. I'll also mention some parts that might have some potential use, but they don't currently have any use cases. This part will be very opinionated. And lastly, bad. These parts have properties that make them unusable for a speedrun.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Ashmead Power Bunker. This weapon needs no introduction. The entire point of the Power Bunker is to kill off a single stagger, and it does brilliantly. Charged Power Bunker has a base damage of 4,630, the highest single source of damage in the game. Additionally, as a melee weapon, you can buff the damage further with good melee arms. On Barsho, the 158 melee spec translates to 29% more damage, raising the base damage to 5,972. That's before adding in the direct hit modifier of 150, aka 50% more damage, to reach 8,959. Let's not forget that in New Game Plus runs you have an extra 50% melee and direct hit damage tuning for a max damage before reduction of 11,848. This damage straight up insta-kills most ACs. Now, enemy ACs do tend to have some of that 15% damage reduction OS tuning, and the kinetic defense of an AC does reduce this damage, but I hope this puts into perspective how stupidly strong this weapon is. Additionally, while uncharged is nowhere near as strong, it is also incredibly fast in stagger extents, so you can use it for a quick finisher if you don't have the time to land a charged bunk. Though, also remember that the uncharged hitbox is fairly small, it will tend to miss opponents if they aren't staggered. Lastly, the charge attack is also genuinely useful outside of stagger against predictable enemies. If you know where they're coming from, you can unleash a high damage attack with 1,800 impact. That's enough to instantly stagger a lot of things and put a good dent in everything else. Finally, the cost is alright, middling weight and good the end load, but for the strongest damage source in the game, that cost is excellent. The Double Trouble Chainsaw. The chainsaw is effectively a slightly worse Pile Bunker. Now that might beg the question, why is it still best in slot and not lower? See, the FirmSoft dev looked at his chainsaw and thought, "Aw, my melee isn't as strong as the Pile Bunker." I though proceed to think, holy shit, 2 strong melees. Now, if you only use one melee, use the bunk. It does almost everything better. However, if you honestly feel more comfortable using the chainsaw over bunk, that's a fair decision, it won't cost you too much time. The charge lunge does allow builds that stagger from further away to work as well. As for its role alongside the bunk, the two combined allow you to delete AP off a stagger against stupid tanky enemies. The helicopter, cataphract, air and all mind, securing a definitive spot in this tier. As for the cost, the weapon has been known to occasionally jank, causing it to start missing even though it looks like it should work, which is honestly the main reason you use bunk over this. It is also a bit heavier than bunk, making some current builds overburdened. The EN load, however, is extremely low, among the best in the game. Sweet 16s. The 16s are the strongest shotgun in AC6. At point blank, they do 1,105 damage and 993 impact. This alone makes the weapon one of the strongest in the game, but also has the benefits of being a shotgun, aka no firing stance and can be used alongside other weapons dual wielded. Dual 16s can deal 2,210 damage and 1,586 impact instantly, while also keeping momentum. Additionally, as they don't fire stance, you can use them during assault boost to deal 30% more impact, resulting in a crazy 2,061 impact while still maintaining mobility. Excluding the very high stability enemies, there is nothing that a 16s cannot stagger. The 16s also have a great direct hit modifier at 205, aka dual 16s can deal a burst of 4,503 damage to a target. That rivals the damage of melee weapons. Additionally, the weapon is incredibly light, 5th amongst the hand weapons at 1,640 weight. It is extremely easy to put these on any build, including many builds that can't afford a Zim. For its weaknesses, the slow reload and short range are definitely a problem, but I think once you start playing, you'll get better at timing it, so it becomes less of a problem. The weapon's EN load is also fairly middling. Zimmermans. This is a similar situation to the Bunkin Chainsaw. The Zim is a worse 16. Worse damage, worse impact, worse weight, and the weight can be especially notable because there are a few builds that cannot support a Zim that can support the 16. This might make you ask why it's still up here then. Well, the biggest reason is that there is a specific use case in the game where you need to stagger and then stagger extend immediately. The 16's 3-second reload cannot facilitate that, while the Zim's 2-second can. And secondly, it's still the damn Zim. It's ridiculously strong and the extra range and shorter reload is beginner friendly if you just want to start, so I'm still keeping it here. PFAL. The PFAL may not be universally useful like many other parts here, but it is still easily best in slot among the missiles, and it opens up so much possible tech never before thought possible. This weapon is mainly the reason speedrunners use current patch. Even after Bazel's Zim and Stun Needle nerfs, the PFAL shoots either 2 barrages of 3 missiles or can charge to shoot 6 missiles at once. This is doubly unique among missiles as the only other missile that has a chamber is the Suit, which is incredibly heavy, high end load, and is a long time before firing each volley, which also doesn't fire straight. Which leads into the strongest part of the PFAL. It fires dead straight. Like dead straight. Bullet straight. And with an effective range of 1,999 meters, you can basically make long distance snipes with it. Something none of the other parts can do. The Tensel does come close, but the projectiles are both slower to fire and travel, but also tend to be inaccurate. This allows you to hit targets previously too far away and save stupid time over going to it and shooting closer. It's actually crazy. Again, revolutionize the speedrun. The charge shot can also be used as a burst damage and impact tool when it's needed for the rest of the mission, to which it works well enough. The cost is poor offenses outside of that burst and a not insignificant EM load of 392. Stun Needles. The Stun Needles are arguably the strongest weapon for the campaign, especially by general utility standards. This weapon has some of the strongest damage, direct hit damage, decent impact, great range, good reload, and inflicts a literal stun, which deals additional damage and micro staggers, as well as stagger extending on hit. This weapon just does so much. 2 needles into a 16 is enough to stagger most AZs quickly and very consistently. It is also very good as a stagger punish. Notable against the Enforcer with its long stagger length and the Cell 240 as well. This weapon just does so much, and it isn't even that difficult to use. This weapon, however, also comes at a large cost. Very heavy and high again, so much so that you cannot realistically run any other generator but Coral with it. We will be talking about NGI later, but this is definitely a noticeable weakness of the weapon. TK and Lamb Head. These two are up here as a 2-for-1 because they are basically the same 2 options with a slight variance. They are the 2 lightest heads in the game at 1,230 and 1,050 weight respectively. All other reasons are irrelevant. Having the lowest weight means faster speed and more weight to allocate to weapons and generator. The reason the 2 are up here instead of just TK Head is because while Lamb is lighter, the EN load is a lot more. 220 against 88. 5th highest against 2nd lowest. This results in a noticeably slower recharge time, especially when EN supply isn't the highest on some builds. The slight weight reduction is not even enough to justify the slower recharge depending on the build. The AB speed might not even increase an entire point, so you're probably thinking why Lamb Head is even here if it's just objectively worse than TK in every way. Well, if EN is no problem, then the head is just a lighter option. The best example is the dual needle build. This has so much spare EN load that switching from Lamb to TK only improves normal recharge by 0.04 seconds and redline by 0.03 seconds. A nothing difference, and now you get a faster AC. Even so, Lamb is still a great secondary head even when not on Coral, so it still deserves a placement. Weaknesses obviously being having no defenses for both heads, but reducing deaths will come as your runs improve. Lamb Core. Lamb Core is the best for simple reasons. Lightest, great supply adjustment, and great generator adjustment. The trinity of stats you want in a core. There's no better option. The only core with better supply is the heaviest and has shit generator spec. The 3 cores with better generator are either too heavy or have a noticeable reduction in supply spec. so the recharge is only a little better under normal circumstances, and it has a worse red line. It also has the worst defenses, but again, the problem becomes less of a concern as you get better. Basho Arms, best melee spec. That factor alone would have made Basho Arms top tier. I firmly believe that Basho Arms could have been closer to midweight and still would have been run viable. Heavyweight might be pushing it, but regardless, it's still stupid strong. Additionally, they have the lowest EN load and 4th lowest weight. 2 of those lighter arms only having slightly less weight and way more EN load, and the other not having any notable melee spec. And while of no importance to the speedrun, the great AP really helps with consistency. Weaknesses being the worst arm load limit and bad recoil and firearm spec. All these issues are not terribly concerning, but it's still worth noting. For Mezza legs, easy answer again. Lightest legs and they have the best load limit. Now, initially that does sound counterintuitive. A Narc leg or Owl leg at load limit is slightly lighter than for Mezza legs at max load. But like, you can just change those to Mezza and now they're faster. All load limit doesn't need to be used. So the lightest weight is still the best factor here. Plus the extra load can allow some weapon combinations that others cannot. All upside. Mezza also has the 3rd best, used to be 2nd best, non-RJ jump distance, allowing further quick boost bunks and making the shit at dodging Bazelles a little better, as well as tied 4th for jump high. Weaknesses again are bad defenses. Bazelle Booster. An AC moves fast as assault boosting. Bazelle provides the fastest AB. Ergo, best speedrun booster. It's that simple. It also has the fastest AB shuffle. Weaknesses include crappy quick boost, crappy upwards thrust, mediocre thrust and melee thrust, and the highest weight in the end load. All of that is justified by the fastest assault boost, which is also why we want to maximize generator capacity, spending as little time as possible boosting normally and spending as much time as possible ABing. Santai Generator. Best capacity with good enough recharge and output. While Santai is lacking in quite a few areas, if you focus on maximizing recharge with Lamb Core and keep the end load low, you can still get good recharge. And when capacity is the biggest factor in speed, maximizing this while also having a good recharge makes it the best generator. Weaknesses include a bad EN firearm spec and low gen output, making builds with high EN load unfeasible. NGI Generator. NGI is a dumbed down Santai and is objectively slower. You don't need to focus on EN recharge, with the generator just recharges everything in one go. When recharge is easily available, Santai is better, but that red line niche of the NGI makes it better when covering distances without easy recharge, like over large gaps. See, while normal recharge is way slower, the red line is only 0.4 seconds shorter even when recharge is available. And when you're navigating the air, NGI provides infinitely more EN than Santai, giving genuine utility in missions like Watchpoint and Brute's mission. It also has enough EN output to let you use high EN parts like LAM and Walt FCS, and has a better NG firearm spec, so using EN weapons on this is less problem. It is also slightly lighter than Santai, again allowing more part combinations. And lastly, NGI turns your core expansion Coral. In speedrunning, that's a stronger assault armor. It will now deal more damage because it bypasses defense to deal a clean 2200 damage at close range, and the impact will also remain at 2000 due to Coral impact being the same as a cumulative, making staggers against some enemies a little more consistent. It's those factors combined that give the NGI this position, allowing it to do stuff like killing Sula, Raven, and Mine Gamma Guazu off a single AA into bunk. Assault armor. The only cost of AA is your choice of core expansion. AA provides a relatively fast burst of impact and damage. It deals 1500 damage and 2k impact, which is enough to either instantly stagger or easily stagger with another input. AA allows you to insta-kill ACs with a combination of bunk, can deal exceptional direct hit damage with modifier of 230 for 2.3k damage, which can also be easily comboed into as well as stagger extending. Additionally, like other manual core expansions, you cannot be staggered during its activation, effectively allowing you to tank a single attack. However, this will leave you at your stability limit, so a single hit will stagger you afterwards, but still genuine utility.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Laser Blade. We slept on this weapon. After its notable buffs, this is the 3rd strongest melee behind the Chainsaw and Bunk. The Laser Blade also does energy damage instead of kinetic, so certain enemies with lopsided defenses might end up taking similar damage between the weapons. Laser Blade also has ridiculous range, a massive hitbox in the direction of the charge lunge, which gives it genuine utility in missions where it's 2-on-1. This also has the best cooling of the melee weapons excluding the baton and dagger, giving a level of spam ability that the other melees cannot replicate, as well as use outside of punish damage due to its good impact, while also comboing into AA punish easier than the Bunk or Chainsaw. While this weapon does have slightly more EN than the Bunk, it also has a whole 2k less weight on it. For weaknesses, as I mentioned, it's weaker than the Bunk, 1.3k less damage on direct and 1.7k less normally. It is also slightly slower than the Bunk due to its longer attack time, and can struggle against vertical enemies. However, it still remains a strong option against high kinetic, low EN defense enemies or when multiple opponents are up. Javelin Alpha. The Javelin is a strong weapon. It has the highest impact for a non-melee hand weapon, it one-shots ghost MTs and deals the highest direct hit damage of the non-melee hand weapons. The Javelin is undeniably very strong and is easily the best of all the bazookas. Unfortunately, the weapon does come at a fairly high cost. It is the 4th heaviest hand weapon in the game, and the 4.1 second reload means that using it for general combat can be inconsistent. Misses are fairly costly, and the firing stance can be a problem in some cases. Regardless, still a very strong weapon that I can understand people using. The Kyurei. This weapon has the best DPS of all the hand weapons if an opponent manages to stay within the flames. It excels at taking out MTs, and while ACS anomaly is not really utilised, it is a cool feature. The weapon suffers against aerial opponents and is generally less effective against ACs, but the sheer utility against bosses and MTs at such a low cost should not be underestimated. Earshot. The Earshot is a great option, however it is a major noob trap. Let's cover the positives first. The damage and impact are excellent. Almost 2.1k damage and 1455 impact from a single weapon is excellent. Additionally, as a bat cannon, you can fire it along with another bat cannon. Potentially 4.2k damage and 2.9k impact. That's enough to stagger anything. And notably, the large explosion radius makes it very difficult to completely miss the Earshot. I personally believe the best part of this weapon lies in that blast radius. Being able to instantly clear out a group of foes from a distance is very useful in a number of missions, so the combination of stupid high bursts and good crowd control makes the Earshot very strong. However, the Earshot has two major problems. Firstly, the reload is long. 9.3 seconds is the 3rd highest reload time. A missed Earshot means lots of downtime as you wait for it. And most importantly, the Earshot is incredibly heavy. 4th heaviest shoulder part in the game. 7k weight is nothing to brush off. In fact, every build that I use dual Earshots for is actually overburdened. Now, we take steps to minimize this effect, purging weapons and the like, but this fact alone makes the weapon overall not that great. Using this without overburden usually requires sacrifices to the generator, meaning further time loss, hence the noob trap status. Again, a very good part, it just isn't worth the cost in most cases. LCS. The LCS is a strong bat cannon. Comparing it to the stun needles, it has worse burst but better consistency, making it strong in scenarios where you have a big open target and the stun needles are just resulting in unnecessary downtime. They are also lighter and lower EN than the stun needle. While they are still relatively heavy and high EN, they do have the best values relative to other similar parts. Additionally, while the impact is not excellent, dual wielding these can give you a consistent burst impact of 1k at a relatively fast speed and decent distance. These weapons are also less punishing than other parts, making them fairly user-friendly. This weapon deserves a shout out for being the best part available in new game before the stun needles. Excellent burst damage and can combo the 16s for quick stagger. Now for the weaknesses. I already mentioned the weight and the end load, but the biggest problem is the fact that it's an energy weapon. Ergo, it relies on energy firearm spec, which is not great on the Santai. While the Santai can afford the EN cost, these weapons do take a 6% damage and 12% charge time nerf. Not deal breaking, but definitely a concern. This may make you consider other generator options while using it. Fazan. The Fazan is the best shoulder weapon for consistent output in my opinion. It has the 2nd highest charge damage among the cannons, the highest charge impact among the lasers, only just places 2nd in DPS, and is 1st for IPS among the cannons. The uncharged has excellent impact and can be fired twice before overheating. Proper timing with other weapons can even let you fire 3 shots. This weapon is just very flexible and provides both damage and impact. However, this weapon has a similar, but even greater weaknesses to the LCS. Heavy, high EN load, relies on EN firearm spec. It is also generally worse against fast targets, as damage is maximized when the target stays within the blast. The charge shot also takes 8 seconds to cool down, so misses are punishing. Still an excellent option with great general use and stagger punish, but best used when its specific utility is needed. LCD. Nothing too special compared to the previous laser weapons mentioned, just deals more damage and impact than the LCS, and has lower EN than the Fazan, but it is the heaviest of the 3. That fact makes it difficult to use over the other 2. It is also worse than the other 2 when not at point blank, quickly losing effectiveness at range. I believe the consistency of the other 2 parts makes them better, but this is still a fine option. Narkcore. Narkcore is objectively worse than Lamb. However, I still believe it deserves this position because it is the best option in new game before you can buy the Lamb Core, still allowing similar strengths to Lamb Core even if the gen spec is bad. Jailbreak arms. These arms are objectively the best arms if you don't have a melee weapon. Lower weight and same EN to Basho, they just provide a faster AC. However, they still aren't used for every melee mission because sometimes the time lost from loading another AC data is greater than the time saved from the faster AC. Looking at the heaviest speedrun preset, switching from Barso to Jailbreak increases AB speed from 517 to 519. In case you didn't know, the percentage difference in boost speed represents the percentage difference in speed. I.e., a 5% increase in boost speed results in 5% faster speed. In this case, an increase of 517 to 519 is an increase of about 0.38%. Extra speed is extra speed, but you should only equip this if you need to change the build for other reasons, not specifically because the current mission has no melee use. While irrelevant to the speedrun, Jailbreak arms also provide almost no AP, so care must be taken while using them to avoid fast deaths. PO5, Ocellus, and Walt FCS. I'm pairing these up because FCS are difficult to rank because they are a reflection of your weapons. PO5 is best for mid-range weapons because of the low cost, Ocellus is the best for close range because of the great tracking, and Walt provides excellent overall tracking, but is high cost so can only really be used on NGI builds. VP20D. This would be a really solid generator if Santai didn't exist. But Santai isn't available at the start of a new game, so the 20D is an excellent option for new game speedruns. Third best capacity, even if the difference is really notable. And best EN output, with some decent enough EN spec. This generator does have a fair few weaknesses though. Highest weight, mediocre EN recharge, and supply recovery. However, the post-recovery EN is actually the highest among the non-coral gens, so it's honestly not terrible. After its recent buff, this generator may actually stand up to Santai if EN is close to limit. I have not tested how this changing capacity and speed affects times, however it is definitely a fact to consider. So it's worse than Santai, but still a perfectly viable option.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Stun Baton. The Stun Baton is actually kinda crazy. I think there are plenty of opportunities for tech with the charge attack. The ability to delay a stagger while also dealing damage is crazy. Unfortunately, bar one, no examples have been found where this is faster than current strategies. I think Cardinal was cooking some strats with it, but he didn't share much before he stopped posting in the Discord. But I would highly advise testing. It is also extremely low cost in both weight and EN. As for its current use, it is used in MIA for being incredibly light, facilitating a quick kill on Pater's LC, while also allowing dual earshots on Santai. Laser Dagger. The Laser Dagger has the fastest cooling and cooling delay of all melee weapons. This weapon has ridiculous upkeep. On heavy bosses, you can stagger with it, then stagger punish with it. It can also be used as a combo tool. Hits 1 and 2 stagger extend like fists, so you can pull off some stupid stuff with it. But even at a base level, you can combo 3 hits into assault armor for a fast kill. It is also the lightest melee and really low in EN too. It can realistically be added to any build. Its problems lie in the lower burst damage compared to other melees. The Laser Dagger needs to remove more health before the combo kills, or the enemy AC will just use a repair kit. Still fantastic against bosses like Sea Spider and Juggernaut, but not as good against faster bosses. Currently used to quick kill the Juggernaut. Pulse Blade. This is a very technically spot. The Pulse Blade is used in new games runs before we get the Pile Bunker. I give it this position because while there are other options available, first is a second hand weapon, which is generally worse than being able to deal good punish damage. The second is using the Laser Blade. I haven't tested this yet, but the Laser Blade might be better for Bolteus after the buffs, but the Pulse Blade's ability to stagger extend with the first hit is still genuine utility, so it still deserves a mention. Walt Blade. Used exclusively in Depth 1 because it one-shots the MTs, and the high EN load is of no problem due to the movement being mostly downward vertical. Can also be used in combos because of stagger extensions and good damage, but the EN load is way too high to be used universally. Rensetsu RF. This weapon has genuine utility in new game runs because it can be bought immediately and one-shots the Bar's Guard MX, and 3-shots MTs. It also conveniently has a charge attack which shoots 3 bullets at once. Its stagger is decent, but you're really only using this for the start of the game. Haldeman. Worst of the 3 shotguns, purely because it has the lowest damage and impact. It technically has a better impact per second than the Sweet 16, and it has the best DPS among the shotguns, but the shotguns are best for their burst, and the Haldeman has the worst burst. It is used in new game runs for being the only shotgun available, and I also use it in some missions not featured in the normal speedruns, like Prisoner Escape and Red Guns, for its ability to handle multiple targets better than other shotguns, while also providing shotgun utility. Gorchen and Dizzy. These two parts are basically the same. Large damage and impact at a distance is useful, even if the firing sense is low. The Dizzy is better than the Gorchang overall, but the Gorchang does have some notable longer range and lower cost. Not currently used at the moment, but still a perfectly valid option for Strider Escort, while I would recommend the Dizzy because the Gorchang doesn't kill the wheels at the edge of its explosive range, while also having slightly less range. Both are very heavy. Bad Cook. Really good DPS, good against large bosses, not currently used, but good against the Juggernaut. Fairly heavy and high EN load. Wurger. This weapon has the highest burst damage on stagger among the hand energy weapons. which can be further improved with a better EN firearm spec. Cardinal used it for a fast Juggernaut kill and an alternative cleaner kill. Perfectly viable, and I would encourage further testing, but no current usage in runs. Light and fairly low EN for an energy weapon. Also not terrible as a backup option. 760 Plasma Rifle. Used in the first few missions because the plasma can clip into terrain and kill turrets from the front. It also has a blast radius and can kill MTs standing together. The charge attack also provides a useful cone of death to kill huddled groups. Middling weight in EN load. Redshift Rifle. This weapon is used in the all-mine fight because the charge attack has just the perfect combination needed for this fight. EN and weight are of no concern because it's a boss fight. The charge attack does great damage at range and deals enough impact to stagger all-mine in combination with an earshot. There are other options you can use, but they either sacrifice damage or stagger, so this weapon's just the perfect middle ground. Walt Rifle. I fucking knew this thing had tech, and I'm so glad I proved it. The Walt Rifle is heavy, has the highest EN load, a useless standard attack, and a charge attack generally worse than other similar options. But the full charge is unique. High damage and impact, and most importantly, infinitely piercing for its range. It is used in Arsenal Investigation to insta-kill 2 of the 4 ghost MTs at their spawn, and can set up an easy kill for the last 2. I am very proud of this homegrown tech. Kurosawa. Nothing crazy like the Walt. The full charge Kurosawa does 1930 impact, which is really good. The weight and high EN load though makes it difficult to practically use, but it does instantly stagger air, which is a perfectly valid strategy for finishing the fight. Pulse guns. The 2 pulse guns are basically the same. The lighter one deals more damage, while the heavier one deals more impact and shield damage. The heavier one is more useful in my opinion, but again, functionally relatively the same. Used to break shields and that's it. The heavy one is used to quick breaks air shield. Both are light, but have middling to relatively high EN load. Kranich. Back-mounted pulse gun. Same utility. Breaks shields fast, especially in combination with a hand pulse. Light, but has high EN load and short usage time with a very long recharge time. Used in air fight and in data breach to break shields, but it was also used at Vespers to break Payda's terminal armor very slightly faster. Yule. Not used to launch shields, used because those shields deal high impact when enemies collide. Almost Kurosawa level if all 3 connect, but it is very difficult to use however. The shields will cancel out if they directly collide, so it's very easy to mess up placement. It's near impossible to get full mileage on a controller. Low cost. Used in double melee sea spiders, non-bubble airs, and can be used at Arsenal. 4-cell missiles. Best option available at the start of new game. Kills an MT or 4 helicopters and tanks. Lowest cost in weight and EN load. Very useful. 8-cell verticals. They kill the turrets in the first mission without you needing to get behind them, and can take out groups of 8 MTs in the next level. Niche but incredibly useful. The 12-cell isn't needed and weighs more, and the plasma verts can sometimes miss the MTs. 6 PMs. Can also kill turrets in the first mission and are good at getting other MTs in the second mission as well. I also use them in the same missions mentioned with the Haldermans. This weapon is generally useful at corral control. Laser turrets. Deals a lot of damage to enemies caught in range. A lot of damage. While also providing free range of action and use. High EN but low weight. Currently used in the Juggernaut fight where it helps kill incredibly quickly. Mine Beta Head. Extra stability is useful and is a good safety net against some enemies. Currently used in Data Breach because time isn't sensitive for the movement portion and the ghost MTs can kill you off a stagger. And regardless, they will cause time loss if they stagger you. Can be used at any point while learning to improve consistency. Mediocre weight but low EN load. VP Core. In manual aim earshot depth 1 strategies, the VP Core provides just enough AP and EN defense in combination with the Mine Beta Head to tank the lasers, meaning you don't have to hide, you can just fall down with pulse armor. Ephemera Core has the highest generator adjustment. I don't think this automatically makes it good, especially with the mediocre supply output and higher weight over LAM, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Crawler Legs. Another technically part. Lightweight and low EN is good for new game runs before the Femeza legs are available. PO1, SLT, and SML FCS. When no FCS is needed or when missiles need to be specialized, these are the best options available. Hakushi. I use it at MIA because I find the stun baton strat inconsistent. This allows me to use bunk and dual earshot at extremely minor overburden. Provides an inferior but still similar performance to Santai when capacity is less of a concern. All VE20 generators. All of the EN spec generators are useful in niche scenarios. A is a light generator that also provides decent EN output and good EN spec. Perfect for Carmen Line, where capacity and excess output is unnecessary and weight and EN spec are the only important factors. Also used in depth 1 where you don't really need capacity. B is useful at Data Breach where the tight surroundings don't require excess capacity, which the B actually has a decent amount of, while also buffing the Kranich damage. Also providing a faster Kurosawa for that style air kill. If you want to use an energy weapon, this part should always be experimented with. C is probably the least useful, but it's currently used at Sea Spider for probably the most consistent kill available, having just enough EN spec to deal good damage, but not enough to mess with the phase transition thresholds. It also has enough capacity to cover the distance at ocean crossing, albeit with less of a safety net. Aorta. Basically, budget NGI in new game when you don't have it, where you also need the lower weight than VP20D and the Coral AA damage. However, it is also using the All-Mine fight to provide Coral AA when the NGI is overburdened. Pulse Armor. Used exclusively in Depth 1 to tank the Nepenthes lasers because Assault Armor just isn't needed.
Overrated as fuck, in my opinion. I mean...
Laser Slicer. Good damage and combo potential, exceedingly slow to kill with. Laser Lance. Good possible combos and damage, but inconsistent and heavy. Hammer. This can inconsistently hit through walls. Notable in Data Breach, but extremely inconsistent. So much so that we just stopped attempting it. Harris. Being able to stagger at range could mean it's possibly used, but no tech has been shown. It's also relatively heavy and high EN cost. Ludlow. Can kind of work to take out low health fodder. Exogen. Decent damage and impact, shotguns are just universally better. Impact Pistols. High stagger build-up is good, but the low damage can cause kills that we missed that shotgun would hit. Bazookas. High impact and decent burst damage is good, but the Javelin Alpha is just universally better, even if the cost is higher. LRB. High damage is good, cost is too high. Laser Shotgun. Charge shot spam might be good, but there's no current application. Xiaowei. Can provide impact support, is constantly active, but burst options tend to work better, and there are better options. More of a starting crutch. Morley. Lighter earshot is cool, but lower damage and less range makes it harder to use. LCA. The highest cannon damage. EN weight cost is way too high to reasonably use. LCB. Awkward quantities that don't make it any better than the LCS, LCD, or Fazan. Tyranno. Lighter source of kinetic back cannon. Stun needles are just universally better. Coral Missile. Oh, how it has fallen. Takes too long to start working without the glitch. Huxley's. High impact with full action available is good, but EN cost, low magazine size, and fast overheat makes it too inconsistent to use. Boatlegs. Has the best assault boost speed, way better than Brazil, but adding it onto your AC makes the AC way too heavy to result in faster speeds at low weights. Wheelchair. The decent assault boost and fast ground speed after the latest buff means that possibly some missions might be faster in a wheelchair than a biped Brazil. Very much a cook and needs to be tested, but it is a possibility nonetheless. Alula. Worse than Brazil overall. Difference in AB speed and consumption is not made up by the faster ground speed, but still a good training wheels booster. Can help you to dodge when starting out. Mingtang. Worse Santai. Might be usable when capacity is less a problem, but still not great. It's also a common noob trap. The generator is not good enough to allow you to run heavier weapons.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Any parts not mentioned previously should be assumed to fall into the bad tier. They are unsuitable for a speedrun. So here are some general reasons why some archetypes are bad. Hand lasers. Generally worse than just trying to stagger, and the high ENX recharge. Damage isn't comparable to back cannons. Rifles. Low damage and impact. Shields. Cost weight in EN and a back slot. Most frame parts. Increasing weight reduces speed. We don't want that. And that's that. A completed tier list of the speedrun viable weapons. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe with the bell so you don't miss the next guide, which will be discussing the builds used. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment here. Or better yet, join the AC Speedrunning Discord and ask me there, linked in the description. Separating from the speedrunning, if you want to become more involved in my community, please join my Discord linked in the description, where you can hear announcements and be alerted when a new stream starts or when a new YouTube video drops. And if you'd like to support me further, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Any amount helps. Now to thank my Patreons. KZN2 late at Zehe tier, SGRB Summer, Hura, and Toast Sandwich at Rusty tier, and Max Robe Theo at Irresponsible Spending tier. With that, thanks again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!